Hello and welcome to CinemaDMA. Today we're really lucky to have two generations of direct marketers with us. We have Ernan Roman, who is president of Ernan Roman Direct Marketing, and his son, the third generation direct marketer, Elias Roman, and Elias is co-founder of Amy Street Inc. Now, before we get into some questions that I'm sure you all have as well, why don't you two guys tell us a little bit about what you're doing at your companies. We'll start with the younger generation first. So Elias, tell us a little bit about Amy Street.
Sure, we have two services we offer. One is amystreet.com, and it's a music store, similar to iTunes. We sell MP3s, they start out free, and then they rise in price based on their demand, up to a price point just below iTunes. The other service is Songza, and those are free music streaming sites, similar to Pandora, for example.
Oh, that's really fascinating. It's very of the moment, and it's nice. So, Ernan, so tell us a little bit about what your company does, and you must be so proud of Elias, number one, and I'm sure he learned a lot from you, and we'll get into that. But tell us a little bit about what your company does.
Sure, and yes, I'm very proud of this next generation of marketer. Our company is a marketing strategy consultancy, and we've been in business since 1983, and we've developed three methodologies that the industry has embraced: integrated direct marketing, opt-in marketing, and voice of customer relationship marketing. And we use these methodologies to help Fortune clients like Microsoft, IBM, and Hewlett-Packard, as well as growth companies like MSC Direct, Amy Street Inc., and other companies like that to achieve consistent double-digit response rates.
Great. And for those who just need a little more fine-tuning, voice of customer, could you give us the Roman definition of voice of customer?
Yes, voice of customer is a methodology we've created for gaining an in-depth understanding of what the customers, prospects, or lost accounts of our clients are looking for in terms of deeper engagement. So how would a major customer of Microsoft define much deeper level of value and relevance and engagement, opt-in preferences that they would want? And that is an in-depth research methodology we use, 1-hour-long interviews, to define research relationship engagement variables for our clients.
It's so interesting what you're doing now. So you're second generation direct marketer, you're third, and we'll find out what Elias learned from you. But your father, Murray Roman, how did he introduce you to this world? What is it that what are the key learnings that you took away that you're passing along?
Good question. In the 70s, I was a very happy beach bum living in the beaches of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. And I invited Murray and my mother Eva down to, I think it was Christmas time, to spend a holiday. I was making a living as a scuba diving instructor, doing treasure hunting for sunken Spanish gold in the Yucatan. Well, there wasn't a Yucatan then. It was just some stretches of beach down there. And Murray said, gee, this is very interesting, nice lifestyle, but I don't think it's sustainable. We're doing something very interesting in New York, and we've built the first professional telemarketing firm to provide high-value telemarketing to major Fortune companies. I think you'd be good at it. I said, I think that idea sounds awful. He said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a round-trip ticket. The precondition is you come up for 6 months. You try the business. It's very exciting. It's young. Something called telemarketing is brand new, and we're going to do it right. Here's a 6-month ticket. And if you like it, fine, stay. If not, then exercise the return part of the ticket. So 37-odd years later, I never used the second half of that ticket.
Oh, well, there's a vacation for you, Elias.
There's a
ticket waiting.
There's only one way, though. You've got to come back.
Oh, well, that's true. So, so fast forward from Beach Bum to now, and this October, I believe it is, published by McGraw-Hill, you have your 4th book coming out about voice of customer. And it's called, I'll read this, A Proven 5-Step Process to Create Customers Who Care, Spend, and Stay. So tell us, why did you select that topic and title for this 4th book of yours?
Okay. The first books focused on integrated direct marketing and opt-in marketing. And I was really thinking more for senior management executives to take these strategic views and integrate into their companies. Well, that's a lot of years ago. With this book, I wrote it for every person who's doing marketing, every person who's spending money on marketing. And with the level of expectation being so high on the part of business to business and consumer decision makers, They have less time, less patience, less tolerance of spray and pray clutter that the industry has been perpetuating. What this book is meant to do is say, the way to get it right is to engage the voice of your customer. And by understanding what your customers, prospects, inquiries, lost accounts, how they define relationship and value, that's what's going to turn around your marketing. From there, you'll be able to figure out things like, what is the media preference? What is the role of social media? How is opt-in truly achieved per the wisdom of the customer? That's what that book is meant to teach anybody who is spending money on marketing. And the book has evolved beautifully to now encompass the best practices from Ford Motor Company and their social media strategy, which is stunning. Microsoft's opt-in efforts, NBC, Walt Disney, some stunning things by a 10-year-old company called Threadless and what they've done with unique approaches to crowdsourcing and how they've transformed a business of selling t-shirts to the innovative things that Elias has done with Amy Street and Songza. And so all these different points of view to teach how to engage, how to learn from, how to trust the wisdom of your customer and use it to drive your marketing.
Yeah, this is, you know, you've used this expression a few times. I've heard spray and
pray?
Spray and pray, yes, spray and pray. Which I think is really interesting, and I think that this book, from what I understand and what I've heard, and you've talked about it a few times, is really giving tools to be smart business people in the 21st century.
It's very good,
You know,
yes.
so I think, and the au courant, what's happening now. And speaking of what's happening now, and you've mentioned a few things that I know that you've taught Elias, and he's, so what has he taught you? What kind of things have you learned from your children?
I've learned a lot, learned a huge amount. One of the important things that I've learned from my son Elias and my daughter Elena, who is in affiliate marketing at barnesandnoble.com, our dinner conversations sometimes sound like debates as to multi-channel best practices. And as we have these discussions, what comes across is their passion for relevance. And relevance in their generation and with the new world of social media is really the embodiment of the whole process of opt-in that I've talked about from a database point of view. With social media, it's what Elias and Elena talk about, how social media enables the person to develop their own network of relevance. Who are the sources they trust for information? How do they bring them in to be their feeders of information? How the credibility and value of information sources is now totally at the control of the customer. And they are the center of that universe as they surround themselves with the social media sources that work. It's been a huge learning from these folks.
That's great. And what advice have you given to them?
I guess the one constant bit of advice has been media will come and go. Technology will always come and go. There'll be a new one invented monthly, weekly, yearly. The one thing we always talk about is that the constant, the center of the universe, is always the customer. And that if we trust the voice of the customer, the wisdom of the customer, the central power of that customer, and we revolve around the pleasure and the expectations of that customer, whatever the media mix, whatever it is, that'll be secondary. We have to get it right to satisfy the needs of the customer. That's what I've been trying to pass along, and these guys have done beautifully given the businesses that they've built.
That's great. So Elias, you're a third-generation marketer, and you've had the benefit of all this advice, learning, growing up in a home where dinner talk is about multi-channel marketing. Trust me, that's not what my family was talking about, but it's fascinating. So what's influenced you, and what are the key things that really made you say, you know what, I am going to go in the family business. It's something I want to do. I'm not going to be a beach bum in Mexico.
You know, I don't think I started off knowing that marketing was what I was going to be doing at Amy Street Inc. when we founded it. I think one of the things that's interesting about the family's perspective is it's a lot broader of a definition of marketing than certainly any of my peers have. I think marketing for them is one cog in the wheel of the company. Marketing for the Roman family is really, it's something that informs the production of the product or the service, whatever it is. It informs the messaging, certainly, as you would expect. It informs the customer relationship, the customer life cycle, and it basically says we can take the mystery out of what makes a company successful by going right to the source, going to the customer, understanding what they want, how they want to be serviced, how they want to be treated, what they see as the next steps for your business, and then sort of taking that, structuring that into your roadmap. And that is interesting. That's what caught my attention. That's how we try to run Amy Street Inc. And it's a lot broader of a definition of marketing than I think anyone I know has outside of the family.
So do you take advantage and like in the middle of the day, if there's a dilemma that you have, do you pick up the phone and say, Dad, I need help on this? Or do you have to make formal appointments with him to get advice?
I do have phone call privileges.
Oh, good.
I think the gift he's given us, though, is the product of the VOC. I mean, he calls it the gospel. So if I have a question during the day, I'll go to that. I'll go to the gospel of the VOC and sort of, what did the customer say about this issue? And if we have to create a new VOC for a new set of issues, I'll certainly go back to Dad and set up the interview guide, the questions, the prospects that we're targeting, and how we're going to reach out to them. But once you have that VOC product, that's what you reference during the day. That's how you answer questions.
That's great. So let's fast forward even more. So if there is a fourth generation Roman direct marketer, what do you think they're going to be doing, and what kind of advice would you be giving them? Do you see?
I think there's already a paradigm shift between a business marketing to a customer base in the traditional sense, and now having to use social media channels, this intermediary filter, this gatekeeper of information that you have to speak to in the hopes that they will carry your message on to their followers and their audience. And I think the next generation will be a lot more focused. We're just starting to realize we have to do that. And we're just starting to realize the implications of that are a different marketing strategy. That will be first nature to, or second nature, as the case may be, to the next generation of marketers.
Okay, that's great. And what kind of things do you think will really be the same and never change? What do you think has been from Murray to Ernan to Elias and to whoever is coming next? What do you think is going to be the constant there?
I think his dad said the constant is going to be the customer, and knowing that by going to them and in the right way, you can't just, again, throw them in front of a survey monkey survey and expect to get the right information to build your business. But by having a dialogue with customers, you'll answer all the questions you need answered, and that won't change.
Thank you. So any final thoughts from either of you?
What would you like to add?
I feel like that covered it. I'm very, very lucky to have this sort of built-in, really knowledge base the last, I guess, 60 years of Roman marketing to have built on top of. Very appreciative for that.
And my final words would be, it's an interesting progression of the times, with Murray having been the developer of the telemarketing channel. My taking it from that and saying we need to look multi-channel and the integration of multimedia, with privacy issues having developed over the last decade, it's spurring the idea in my mind that we need to think about an opt-in relationship where, again, it's the empowerment of the customer to determine how they choose to opt in and drive relationship. Social media is the next embodiment still of recognition that the power is in the hands of the customer. They will control the access points. We as marketers have a huge value, but it's a subservient value in orbiting around the customer. That's the universal takeaway.
Well, further wisdom from the Roman family. Thank you, Elias and Ernan, so much for joining us for this segment of CinemaDMA, and we really appreciate all your wise words and information about something that's so important for all marketers to know about. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your excellent questions. It was a pleasure.